This story is a sensational one, and one which probably, we jokingly say, belongs in a Netflix series.
It took an entire year to unravel the tale of a massive $22 million gold heist at Toronto Airport, notorious for its blunders and twists around nearly pure gold. This heist, the sixth largest ever, might have remained hidden if not for three embarrassingly simple mistakes. You see thousands of gold bars and millions in cash smuggled into a bustling airport, only to be lost through sheer carelessness. Why were experts banned from digging into this story? Let's explore the three catastrophic mistakes that doomed the biggest heist in recorded history. Number 1. The day gold shockingly vanished at the airport. The story becomes even more interesting here, or you might say, it begins to fall apart. The people who planned this big theft thought they were really smart. However, they couldn't see the big mistakes in what they believed was a perfect plan. What seemed like a successful heist was actually full of errors that were just waiting to be discovered. These three huge mistakes, so ridiculous they almost didn't seem real, ended up ruining the theft. What could have been remembered as a legendary crime turned into a perfect example of what not to do. These small but critical errors weren't just simple mistakes. They were like invitations for disaster, setting off a chain reaction that eventually led to many arrests across Canada. The impact of these mistakes even reached the United States, revealing a connected story about illegal gun trading across borders. It was as if these clumsy thieves were almost asking to be caught, making loud mistakes in a world where silence and stealth are key. The theft centered around over 881 pounds of gold, which is about 14,116 ounces. Just 1 year before, this large amount of gold was worth more than 20 million Canadian dollars. Thanks to the rising price of gold, its value had increased to over $35 million. This huge amount of gold came from a Swiss refinery and was supposed to be safely stored in the vaults of a major Canadian bank. But it never made it there. At exactly 6:32 p.m., a man who seemed to know exactly what he was doing drove a plain white 5-ton truck backwards into the busy cargo area of the airport. He dressed simply to blend in, wearing a hat, glasses, a medical mask, heavy gloves, and a safety vest, which made him look just like any other worker and helped him avoid drawing attention. Inside the cargo area, he confidently handed over an Air Canada airway bill. Although it was a real document, it was for cargo that had already been sent, once 200 kilos of Scottish seafood that had been shipped the day before. Despite the obvious mistake on the paperwork, a warehouse worker, perhaps too busy or fooled by the document's appearance of being real, accidentally loaded the gold from Switzerland onto the man's truck. As the truck drove away with the gold, nobody at the airport knew that they had just witnessed a major theft. The simplicity and boldness of the plan were impressive, but the mistakes made during its execution were even more remarkable. These blunders included not only the misuse of an already dispatched airway bill, but also failures in other critical areas like surveillance avoidance and communication security, which soon led the police directly to the thieves. Let's look closer at how this bold theft unfolded, where even small mistakes can lead to big trouble. Number 2. A clever crime quickly falls apart. This is the best part, as the simplicity of the crime catches us off guard. The driver, suddenly in possession of a vast amount of gold, easily drove off into the night without anyone stopping him. The security team from Brinks, who were supposed to guard this expensive shipment, only showed up at 9:30 p.m., finding themselves at the heart of a baffling case. By then, the culprits had a solid 8-hour lead. The sluggish response and the additional delay in calling the police until 2:43 a.m. gave the criminals the ideal chance to disappear without a trace. Despite appearances that the thieves had flawlessly executed their plan, the reality was far less impressive. The stolen gold was found in a rather unexpected location, a nearby jewelry store. In the store's basement, a temporary forge had been set up, emitting powerful heat to melt the gold bars into unrecognizable strips. This molten gold was then quickly transformed into plain bracelets by a simple machine that molded the valuable metal into rough but sellable jewelry pieces. At a glance, these bracelets might look like ordinary, inexpensive items, basic bangles that didn't seem very pricey. However, these were no average bracelets. They were crafted from pure gold, making them much more valuable than they appeared. Just 6 of these bracelets, once discovered, were estimated to be worth around $90,000. For some time, it seemed as though the criminals' daring scheme had paid off, as they managed to turn a significant profit from their stolen goods. Turning stolen gold into jewelry was a bold but risky idea. The thieves took a big chance by using a jewelry store to change the gold into something they could sell without getting caught. They made jewelry quickly and sold it to people who didn't know it was stolen. This allowed them to spread the gold around and turn it into money without anyone suspecting them at first. The robbers probably felt sure about their plan because when they melted the gold and shaped it into new jewelry, it didn't look like the stolen gold anymore. But even though they managed to keep their activities secret at first, their plan had many dangers. They risked getting caught while they were changing the gold into jewelry. They also had to be careful not to sell so much gold that it would make people suspicious. They needed to be very careful and precise, but they were in a hurry to make money, which made it hard to stay careful. As the events continued to unfold, it became obvious that the robbers were starting to slip up. They made small mistakes that began to attract attention. The local police noticed that there were suddenly a lot more gold jewelry sales than usual and started to investigate. What seemed like a perfect crime at first slowly turned into a desperate situation for the thieves. They tried to keep ahead of the police, but with every step, they found it harder to evade capture. The thrilling chase showed just how difficult it was for the robbers to maintain their initial success as they increasingly faced the likelihood of getting caught. In the complex and often hidden world of theft, criminals frequently make mistakes, either because they are too confident or because they overlook small details. This tale revolves around a group of thieves whose plans began to fall apart due to such blunders. The driver, a crucial member of their team, initially did well in concealing his identity by covering his face to ensure nobody could recognize him. Yet, in a moment of inattention, when he should have been most alert to the minor but critical elements, he slipped up. While dealing with what appeared to be insignificant paperwork, he removed his glove, exposing his hand. This simple action left a fingerprint, a seemingly minor clue that proved significant. This overlooked fingerprint did not go unnoticed. It caught the eye of the lead detective, a person with sharp observational skills who was often underestimated. This tiny piece of evidence turned out to be pivotal, laying the groundwork for a deeper investigation into the driver's concealed identity. As the authorities delved into the clues, they uncovered the identity of the man behind the wheel during the heist, Durante King McLean, a 25-year-old resident of Brampton, Ontario. Armed with this new information, the police moved swiftly to apprehend him. However, capturing King McLean proved difficult. He evaded arrest during the initial police operation designed to capture him. Though the police found his truck, confirming he had been there shortly before, King McLean had vanished into the night, like a shadow. It appeared he might manage to continue his life of crime, once again slipping through the law's fingers. The saga of King McLean did not end with his disappearance. The police continued their relentless pursuit, piecing together more of his recent activities and connections. They discovered that he had been planning more heists, using different disguises and vehicles to stay ahead of law enforcement. Meanwhile, the forensic team worked meticulously, analyzing the fingerprint and other traces left at various crime scenes linked to King McLean. This information painted a clearer picture of his methods and movements, leading to a heightened search operation involving multiple law enforcement agencies. The pressure mounted as the chase intensified, with each step bringing the police closer to their elusive target. The community, too, became more vigilant, reporting sightings and suspicious activities. King McClane's world was shrinking, the net drawing tighter as his options dwindled. His story, a blend of cunning evasion and inevitable missteps, highlighted the precarious balance criminals maintain and the relentless effort of law enforcement to uphold justice. The chase heats up, moving across borders where the tiniest error can unravel the smartest plans. Number 3. The devastating crime trail from gold to guns. Destiny, or maybe just plain bad luck, seemed to have a different plan for King McClane, who was now desperately trying to escape his past actions. He had traveled a long way from where his troubles began, about 360 miles south of the airport, crossing from Canada into the United States all the way to Pennsylvania. It was here that he made a second, almost comical mistake that would start to pull apart the freedom he clung to. During what seemed like a routine traffic stop, a state trooper noticed King McClane's car, a plain Nissan Sentra with very dark window tints, swerving oddly on the road. This drew the officer's attention, leading to a stop. True to his nature, King McClane didn't stick around. He panicked and ran, letting his instincts overpower his better judgment. But his freedom was fleeting. It was in the quiet, unfamiliar territory of a different state that the authorities finally caught up with him. The man who had narrowly escaped capture several times before was now in handcuffs, his luck completely run out. King McClane's story isn't just a simple tale of a thief running from the law. It turns into a complex web of crime that spans across national borders. Originally, a regular check in a police database had identified him as someone Canadian law enforcement were looking for. This check should have been just another step in routine police work, but it ended up uncovering much more. King McClane's eventual capture not only highlighted his criminal activities, but also exposed deeper, more serious criminal connections that were initially overlooked. His arrest shed light on a series of missteps by law enforcement and ironic twists that made his case far more significant than that of a typical criminal on the run. The situation escalated dramatically when state troopers in Pennsylvania pulled over a plain-looking Nissan, anticipating perhaps to find stolen gold that had sparked an international search. Instead, they stumbled upon something far more alarming: a stash of 65 handguns hidden in the trunk, equipped enough to arm a small army. This wasn't just a surprising find. It set off urgent alarms throughout various law enforcement agencies. What followed was an indictment straight out of a crime thriller. The trove included guns modified for fully automatic fire, numerous stolen firearms, and one with its serial number meticulously removed, clear signs of deep criminal intent and planning. Clearly, this was no minor league operation. These were the tools of a hidden, dangerous trade. The discovery prompted immediate action from the American Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, who took over what quickly evolved into a major investigation into gun trafficking. It was when they examined King McClane's personal communications that the depth of the conspiracy really began to emerge. His phone was full of evidence, including messages exchanged on Threema, a secure messaging app favored by those who prefer to operate under the radar, and communications through Instagram. He was in frequent contact with Prasath Paramalingam, a fellow resident of Brampton. The digital trail they left was damning. The conversations weren't merely casual chats, but detailed discussions about smuggling firearms across the US-Canada border. These messages didn't just imply a plan. They blatantly laid out a criminal strategy. Their digital exchanges revealed a chilling level of organization and intent. They talked about routes, timings, and methods for moving guns undetected, treating the illegal activities almost like a business operation. This wasn't a one-off act of smuggling. It was a sophisticated, ongoing operation designed to fuel illegal activities across borders. Law enforcement agencies, piecing together the conversations, found clear indications of multiple trips and transactions, suggesting that what they had uncovered was just the tip of the iceberg. The implications were severe, not only highlighting the duo's roles in the gun trade, but also potentially implicating a larger network of criminals involved in international arms smuggling. This case, originating from a routine traffic stop, had unfolded into a sprawling investigation, drawing in multiple agencies and uncovering a nexus of crime that operated in the shadows, far more complex and organized than initially anticipated. Paramalingam, perhaps feeling secure behind the shield of encrypted networks, not only engaged in secretive discussions, but also brazenly provided visual evidence of his involvement. He sent a photo showing a large stack of Canadian dollars, neatly bundled, signaling their readiness for illegal activities. This image, which authorities quickly seized upon, later matched the exact description of a large sum of money, amounting to a whopping $430,000, that Canadian police confiscated as part of their investigation. This significant amount of cash served as a crucial link back to a criminal syndicate deeply involved in both the theft of valuable metals and the planned distribution of dangerous weapons into Canadian communities. The unraveling investigation turned into a massive transnational operation, with detectives working tirelessly to connect the dots between stolen gold and international gun trafficking. This elaborate scheme underscored the intricate and intertwined nature of modern criminal networks, revealing how they exploit global systems to further their unlawful ends. The case progressively disclosed a comprehensive picture of criminal collaboration that spanned borders and involved multiple illegal activities. On April 16th, the announcement of the U.S. indictment opened the floodgates to even more dramatic developments. Exactly 1 year after the gold heist, a crime that had initially set off this complex chain of investigations, a significant operation unfolded near the site of the original crime. In a well-coordinated move that seemed almost cinematic in its execution, authorities dealt a decisive blow to the criminal network. 5 men, all linked to the gold heist and subsequent criminal activities, were arrested in Canada.
The single largest gold heist in Canadian history. It all happened here at...
These arrests marked a pivotal moment, as these individuals, now caught, faced the looming prospect of a trial. Now, as we tighten the net on this crime, watch how unexpected links pull both cops and criminals into the fray. Number 4. The entire web of crime goes international. The saga of international crime deepens as law enforcement agencies scramble to solve a daring armed robbery. The case spans multiple nations, creating an intricate web of clues and dead ends. So far, the Canadian police have identified 4 main suspects involved in the crime, but only one has been apprehended. King McLean, suspected to be the getaway driver.
Police were able to identify the suspected truck driver as Durante King McLean of Brampton.
He is now in custody in a Pennsylvania jail. The complexity of the situation escalates with the other 3 suspects still at large, hiding across borders and evading international law with several pending charges in various countries. Both King McLean and another suspect named Paramalingam are entangled in legal battles in the U.S., with Paramalingam also facing extradition proceedings from Canada. The plot thickens with Arkit Grover, a 36-year-old from Brampton, who has completely vanished. His ability to dodge capture by authorities in both Canada and the U.S. adds a mysterious and urgent element to the investigation. His status as a fugitive underscores the cunning and elusive nature of these criminals, who skillfully navigate beyond the grasp of the law. As we delve deeper into this complex crime story, brace yourself for a stunning revelation, a twist laden with betrayal and clandestine cooperation. Among those implicated in Canada, 2 were employees at Air Canada, with one, Simran Preet Panesar, holding a managerial position at the cargo warehouse. In a striking twist of fate, Panesar led the police through the crime scene, feigning to be a cooperative insider while secretly concealing his own involvement in the crime. This act of deception stands as a prime example of the treachery embedded within this case. The unraveling of this crime story reveals more than just the mechanics of the robbery. It exposes the deep layers of manipulation and deceit involved. The investigation continues to face hurdles as new leads emerge and old ones fade, pushing the authorities to their limits. The international nature of the crime complicates the legal proceedings, with jurisdictions overlapping and diplomatic nuances coming into play. Each suspect's move is calculated, adding tension and uncertainty to an already volatile situation. After the robbery, Panesar left his job at Air Canada. Looking back, this move might seem like he was either feeling guilty or trying to escape as the police investigation intensified. When the detectives finally connected the dots and went to question him, Panesar had already disappeared. He became a fugitive, adding a more sinister aspect to his already deceptive behavior. As the case progressed, the detectives made a crucial discovery: 2 copies of what they referred to as a debt list during their searches. These lists seemed to provide a glimpse into the magnitude of the criminal operation and hinted at other possible participants. Each name and figure noted on these documents potentially pointed to different players within a vast criminal network. These lists were keys that could lead investigators through a labyrinth of secret dealings and illicit activities, helping them unravel the entire narrative of the crime and identify everyone involved. This finding not only deepened the investigation, but also underscored the level of planning and execution by the criminals, revealing a complex web of deceit that stretched through various strata of society and multiple industries. In a scenario reminiscent of a dramatic crime film, the police tirelessly worked to piece together evidence that resembled a script for a captivating heist movie. They had in their possession 2 lists, each bearing the same 18 names. These individuals were suspected to have profited from a meticulously orchestrated robbery, earning a significant sum of money. However, in a compelling twist, the authorities decided to withhold these names from the public. This could be a strategic move to prevent tipping off the suspects prematurely, or perhaps to maintain the suspense in a case already rife with unexpected developments. The detectives' current challenge is to identify these individuals and determine the extent of their involvement in the heist. This phase of the investigation highlights how intricate and well-organized the criminal operations behind the heist are. It reveals the detailed connections and transactions that form the backbone of the crime, indicating that this was no simple act of petty theft, but a well-coordinated endeavor linked to organized crime. The detectives play a vital role as they untangle this complex web, aiming to bring justice to the victims and put a stop to the criminal activities that have been skillfully hidden in this mysterious case. As the investigation progresses, the complexity only increases. Each name on the detectives' lists could open up new leads or lead nowhere at all, demanding cautious and strategic action. The goal is to methodically lift the veil of secrecy from each individual involved, determining their specific involvement in the heist. This cautious method is crucial to ensure fairness in treating potential suspects and that no important detail is missed in the eagerness to solve the crime. But the work involves far more than just cross-referencing names with databases. The detectives must compile small pieces of information from various sources, draw parallels with previous crimes, and conduct interviews with individuals who may unknowingly possess crucial information. Every action taken brings them closer to cracking the case, yet also deeper into a labyrinth of lies and concealed relationships, balancing the need for confidentiality to ensure a successful investigation against the urgency to act swiftly to prevent the suspects from obscuring their tracks even further is a delicate task. As each layer of the crime is peeled back, the detectives encounter a myriad of challenges. They must navigate through a maze of potential leads, where every clue must be carefully evaluated to build a coherent narrative of the events. The investigation demands a combination of detective skills, legal knowledge, and psychological insight to interpret the motives and actions of those involved. It's like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle without having the picture on the box as a guide. Moreover, the detectives face the additional challenge of maintaining momentum in the investigation without alerting the suspects. They need to keep their strategies and progress under wraps to prevent the criminals from catching wind of the investigation and potentially fleeing or destroying evidence. This requires a high level of secrecy and coordination among various law enforcement agencies. In addition, the investigation's scope often expands as new information comes to light, sometimes leading to international jurisdictions. This expansion complicates the legal and logistical aspects of the investigation, involving extradition issues, different legal systems, and the need for international cooperation. The detectives must work within these constraints while trying to piece together evidence scattered across various countries, all while dealing with language barriers and cultural differences. Get ready for the consequences of pride and carelessness, as showing off leads to a clash with the law. Number 5. The riches that raised insane red flags. Let's explore a particularly ridiculous error, a blunder so glaring and apparent that it borders on comical. Parmpal Sidhu, formerly a member of the Air Canada cargo team and now entangled in a major theft scandal, seems to have overlooked the common wisdom that criminals should maintain a low profile following their crimes. However, he does quite the opposite. Sidhu is extremely active on social media, flaunting his newfound wealth in such an overt manner that it virtually screams, "I'm guilty," or at least highlights his staggering carelessness. His social media profiles are brimming with evidence of his opulent lifestyle, featuring photos of a seemingly floating pool on the third floor of an upscale building, and a wine cellar so grand it could make anyone envious. He shares these images without a second thought, like someone who believes they are untouchable. Sidhu's online demeanor is as nonchalant as it is bold. Shortly after the theft, he takes not one, but 2 trips to Dubai. It appears that the city's luxurious allure has captivated him, or perhaps he sees it as a suitable place to conceal further questionable activities, especially considering Dubai's notoriety as a hub for shady gold transactions. His lavish vacations, juxtaposed with the earnings from his previous warehouse job, paint a surreal picture. To the casual observer, it might look as if they are witnessing the extravagant lifestyle of a wealthy socialite, not a man suspected of stealing millions. As Sidhu continues to parade his riches, the disparity between his public persona and his history as a cargo handler becomes even more stark. His online displays aren't limited to pools and wine cellars. They also include pictures of designer attire, gourmet dishes, and lavish vacations, all accompanied by brash captions. These posts don't just subtly indicate his lavish new way of life, they loudly proclaim an abrupt surge in unaccounted-for wealth. Each photo and each update acts like a piece of a puzzle that law enforcement is zealously assembling, following the lavish clues Sidhu is carelessly scattering around. This showy behavior has deep consequences. It catches the eyes of both ordinary people and the police, putting Sidhu at the center of the investigation. The things he brags about online are being put together by detectives. They create a story that goes against the low-key life he's supposed to lead because of his risky situation. With every new post, Sidhu not only gets himself into more trouble, but also makes it easier for people to question how he could be living so lavishly after working as a cargo handler. This mistake could lead to his downfall, as each fancy display adds more doubts and pulls him deeper into the legal troubles closing in on him. As Sidhu ends the year with yet another flashy trip to Dubai from Pearson Airport, the irony in his unrestrained show of wealth is almost overwhelming. Here is a man whose salary from his job shouldn't cover such luxury, yet he flaunts it, even though he's involved in a criminal case with lots of missing gold and money. His social media profiles look less like simple updates and more like big, bright signs that shout out, "He might be guilty," or at least making very poor choices. Sidhu's careless splurging brings several negative effects. Each time he flaunts expensive trips and luxury items, it invites more and more scrutiny into his life. People start wondering how someone with his job background could suddenly afford such expensive tastes. This skepticism grows as Sidhu continues to ignore the basics of lying low during an investigation. Instead, he posts about his wealth and trips, which only adds fuel to the fire of suspicion against him. His posts are like breadcrumbs, leading the authorities right to him, showing a trail of sudden and unexplained wealth. As this pattern continues, each of Sidhu's social media updates serves as a potential piece of evidence against him. His online behavior is dissected by investigators, adding up to a profile of a man who seems too reckless to be innocent. As the case develops, every new display of wealth turns into a step towards his potential arrest. This ongoing flaunting might be fun for Sidhu, but it's a dangerous game that puts him in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, making it harder for him to explain his sudden riches in a believable way. Despite all his flashy behavior and the easy conclusions people might draw, the legal world reminds us of a basic rule. Accusations are just accusations until proven in a courtroom. No matter how much Sidhu's reckless displays of wealth sway public opinion, the real scales of justice don't care about Instagram posts or Facebook updates. They need solid proof. Until that's presented, this story of wealth and criminal searches is just a story. Whether it ends under the harsh lights of a courtroom or keeps going as public entertainment is still unknown. What's certain is that every luxury post and every detail he hides only adds more layers to a growing web of doubt and mystery. His constant, over-the-top posts not only catch the eye of his followers, but also draw attention from the authorities. Every new picture of a lavish party or expensive gadget could be another piece of the puzzle for investigators. This doesn't stop Sidhu. It's as if the thrill of living this high life, in full view of everyone, outweighs the risks of getting caught. This behavior makes people question, is he really that clueless about the danger? Or is he somehow convinced he'll never face the consequences? As each post rolls out, the narrative thickens. Observers and detectives alike piece together his lifestyle, contrasting it sharply with his official income. These contradictions pile up, building a case that might eventually be used against him. Meanwhile, Sidhu seems to bask in the limelight of his social media fame, perhaps unaware or undisturbed by the growing legal storm around him. Could the Toronto gold heist be an inside job or perhaps part of a bigger scandal? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.